If I have the honor of becoming your president, I'm going to be the strongest labor president you have ever had.
Biden presided over the worst, the weakest, and the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression.
Battle in the battlegrounds before heading to Florida and North Carolina today. President Trump slamming Joe Biden's labor message. The former VP spent the day in Pennsylvania.
So where do voters stand in these crucial swing states? Joining us now to discuss from the Young Americans for Liberty, Kristin Tate. Kristin, great to have you as always. Let's take a look at the numbers. Trump versus Biden in the battlegrounds. This is Real Clear Politics average from the states include Wisconsin, North Carolina, Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona. As you see there, it was 6.3 just over a month ago. Now it is down to 3.2. Why is that gap closing, Kristin?
Well, you know, for the first time in this campaign cycle, we're going to see Joe Biden actually attempt to campaign. Up until a few weeks ago, the Democrats thought they had this in the bag. They thought they could keep Biden in his basement until November 4th, basically hiding his mental from voters. But as you mentioned, Todd, things are changing now. The polls are tightening, and Team Biden realizes they need to actually get their candidate in front of voters. I think a big issue here is that the Democrats thought COVID was going to be the big issue until Election Day, and they were going to use that as an excuse to keep Biden off the trail. But in fact, we've seen Americans get back to some sense of normalcy. Many states are fully reopening, and the COVID death rates are way down, thank goodness. Also hurting Biden in the recent weeks has been his silence up until recently on these violent left-wing riots that are just ravaging our cities. There are a lot of people out there who are tired of being locked in their homes for months on end while they watch these mobs just burn down our cities with impunity. And these voters may not like Donald Trump's personality, but they may realize that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote in favor of the chaos that we're seeing in so many towns and cities across the country.
Kristin, I'm curious what you think for both Joe Biden and President Trump. Which state do you think of these battleground states is going to be the biggest problem for each candidate?
For Donald Trump, it will be Florida. No Republican has won without Florida in about 100 years. He's got to be on the ground there as much as possible. For Joe Biden, it may be Pennsylvania. The polls show him slightly up there, but he's been on record saying he wants to eliminate fracking. I mean, that is a critical industry to Pennsylvania. The elimination of fracking would evaporate at least 200,000 jobs there.
Meantime, Kristin, the VP candidates, Mike Pence and Kamala Harris, headed to Wisconsin. They made some dueling stops. Let's take a listen.
Under this president, I promise you, we will have law and order in every city in this country for every American.
We see you. We understand the significance of what you are in terms of the health and well-being of communities.
In those comments there, Kristin, you basically saw a summary of each of their events yesterday. Who wins in Wisconsin? What message, the Pence or the Harris message, wins in Wisconsin?
Well, Wisconsin should be a state for Democrats to lose. I mean, Hillary Clinton only lost in 2016 because she didn't campaign there. She basically totally ignored the state. And even with that, Donald Trump only won by 20,000 points. So Wisconsin should be an easy Democratic win. However, because of these riots and the looting and the violence, a lot of voters across that state are cooling on the Democratic Party, particularly moderate Democrats and independents.
Although, if I can interrupt you for a second, though, just because while you're making this point, if we can look at this poll, this is for Wisconsin, and this is the presidential preference there. And you'll see before the conventions, Joe Biden had 49%. The president had 43%. President Trump stayed the same. But as you can see, Joe Biden went up 3 percentage points. So what does that tell you about where Wisconsin voters' minds are at right now, and also where possible independent voters are right now?
You know, ultimately, these races come down to turnout. And what we're seeing is among Republican voters and some independents, that the law and order message that Donald Trump is sending out there has been really effective. So we'll see which camp can turn out voters. Wisconsin, like I said, should be a very easy win here for Democrats, especially if they're spending time on the ground. But I have to think that this chaos we're seeing in Democrat-led states shows voters, it paints a picture for them of a future with a Democrat-led America. So it'll be a very close state. But I do think that the recent events with all the chaos in Kenosha and other places across the country has to help the law and order message that Donald Trump has been campaigning on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch play out, that's for sure. Kristin, thank you very much, as always, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kristin.